But yeah, there are a few things I love about this thing. There are a few things I hate about it as well. And why I say this is a good beginner quad, it's automatic. I mean, you just put it in gear and go. There's no thinking about it. And then it's also like if you want to get into simple maintenance and like how to maintain your machines and stuff, it's simple in that regard too. I mean, you have your transmission oil that needs to be changed every now and then, and a belt. The belt is so easy to change. It's like 6 or 7 bolts that come off the clutch cover. You pull that off and then you just kind of unwind the belt off by hand. It's like a 15-minute job to change it out. It's super easy. So yeah, maintenance is one. It's super simple to maintain. Super simple to operate. Like I said, it's just forward, neutral, reverse. And you just hit the throttle. There's no clutch to worry about or anything. They're fairly reliable for what they are. I mean, this is a 2005 and it runs great. There's nothing wrong with it at all. Obviously, I can tell it's been neglected maintenance-wise, and it still ran and drove great. I still need to get the alignment right on it, but that can wait. It runs fine, and this thing's only going to be used off-road, so it's not that big of a deal to me. Comfort, too. Compared to a regular sport quad, this thing is super comfortable. It just floats, and it actually has quite a bit. The suspension is quite a bit better than normal quads, but just having a higher unsprung weight in general is going to make this a smoother riding machine. So yeah, I think this thing weighs like 460 pounds. So yeah, it's a little heavy. So those are 4 things that I really like about it. So on to some things I don't love about it. Compared to Yamaha, Polaris parts are really expensive. So like even just little nuts and bolts can cost you up to $15 to $20, where you look at the Grizzly, like nuts and bolts are nothing, and then it's just equivalent parts like bearings. Some of the Polaris bearings for this thing cost like, even just like the carrier bearings, they're like $60 a piece. It's ridiculous. So, but the Tusk kit, obviously there's aftermarket kits, but I don't think those will last as long as the Polaris stuff. So yeah, I mean, that's one thing, cost of parts, so more expensive, but there's a lot of aftermarket, so I wouldn't worry about that too much. One thing I like about it compared to a lot of sport quads is that it already has a sprocket guard and it already has a brake disc guard, so it's cool. Another thing I don't like about it is that it only has one brake lever up top, and it operates all 4 tires. Obviously they have a separate rear brake here, but I would prefer if I had a lever for the front up top and a lever for the back. It would kind of just make that unnecessary in general. But yeah, I don't like that. And then what else? I guess it doesn't have that much power, but if you're a beginner, that's not going to be that big of a deal. Like, you're not going to be doing hard drifting or anything with that. Like, you're not going to drift through an entire corner. You can get the tail sliding a little bit, but you're not going to be doing big drifts. It struggles a little bit in like really deep sand, deep mud and stuff like that, so this isn't going to be a good mudding quad or a dune quad like that by any means. For mud, you're going to be better off with something like I have behind like the Grizzly there. And I'll have a review like this coming up for the Grizzly too. I just want to get more seat time on it, you know. I have more seat time on that than this, but this machine is a little bit easier to get a gauge for. There's not much to it. I mean, you ride it and you kind of understand what you're getting. So with the Grizzly, it's a little more complicated. To me, the Grizzly is more fun to ride in every environment. So yeah. But yeah, as far as a cheap quad is concerned, you can't really go wrong with these. And then, let's see, is there anything else I don't like about it? I mean, it's Polaris. I'm a Yamaha guy, so I guess the name brand I don't like that much. There aren't very many like little like issues with this thing, I guess. like per model years. Like all in all, this is a fairly reliable machine. And there's not much that goes wrong with them, really. I mean, they're pretty decent. I guess I wish they would have made the exhaust stainless steel instead of just, you know, making it steel that rusts out really easily. But that's also not that big of a deal to me. But if you do look for one of these, take off the seat when you go to check it out. And make sure it has the airbox lid, because these things do not run good without that. And then get this thing, when I first picked it up, it didn't really run that great. And then I put a new air filter in it and put a new spark plug in it. Then it just, boom, just like that. Idled perfectly, ran perfectly. It was basically perfect after that. So, and then one weird thing about this one is the wires that basically show you what gear you're in here. They're cut at the transmission, so I don't understand what that's all about. But it's whatever. It's not that big of a deal. Let's get this back on. So yeah, one thing I do love about this is very easy maintenance. It's really easy to get to the airbox. Really easy to change the air filter. I mean, it's all toolless. You can do it without, you know, you can do it without tools entirely. Then, yeah, I mean, you're not going to be jumping this thing. I mean, you can jump this thing, but you're not going to be doing it, you know, like you would on a regular sport quad. But for a beginner, I would say this is a great machine. My wife is going to love it because her main complaint on her old one is that it didn't ride that great. And it also, like, she had trouble with shifting the gears sometimes. So this is going to be a huge upgrade in that regard. Ultimately, we want to get her a Brute Force 300, but that's going to have to wait a little bit. First off, like, we don't really have the funds for that at the moment. And secondly, I'm also thinking that we might just eventually down the line, I might just upgrade to something nicer and my wife will just end up on this. This is a nice machine. I would, like I said, I would much rather be riding this than this any day. This thing has just so much more power. It goes so much faster. It's so much smoother. Even this is just the 550 too. I can't even imagine what the 700 would be like. I mean, just the power steering too is so nice. But yeah, this is still a good machine. For a beginner, if you want something cheap, if you can tinker a little bit, get one. I would recommend it. Even if you're a tall dude, you'd still be able to ride it. It's something to get you out there and ride with your buddies. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on this machine, you know. It's been good to us. I have about 2 tanks of gas through it now, and it's been pretty solid. I'll say that much. So yeah, appreciate you guys for watching. Take care.